Hi there, everybody. This is David, and we have some new information on the Dragon Quest III HD2D remake. This has been like my favorite game ever since I was a little kid. I first got it in fourth grade, and I've played every single iteration that there is. But this is easily the most anticipated game of the year, and I am just eating up all this great stuff that they are giving us about this. We have more new bosses, we have new areas, more information on Ortega's quest. We actually get to relive his quest. We don't get to see him, fall into the volcano or do the little prologue thing that we saw in the SNES version. We actually get to go back and live his quest, and it's so freaking cool, and I want to go through this article with y'all as we do this, and I do think that that is worth a sub, as I do try my best to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. With your help, your like, and your sub, I do think that I can get there, so if you could help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate that. I am over here on the Otaku Authority, and Square Enix has released new information and new screenshots, and this time again it is focused on Ortega. If you are not aware of who that is the hero's father who set off on a journey before the events of Dragon Quest III took place. Set off whenever the hero was just, a child, and then on the hero's 16th birthday, they realize, hey, Ortega must have failed. Baramos is still out there, he hasn't been defeated yet, so you have to take up his reins. So it says here, this remake contains several new scenes, which shine a spotlight on the protagonist's father, Ortega, giving players a better understanding of the man himself and his quest. The story also features new, formidable foes, which will give fans an even more enriching experience of the Dragon Quest III narrative. Below are some screenshots which should give you a taste of what is in store. So there is Ortega, looking rock solid, of course, looking really good right there. And again, in the NES version of the game, all you really get to see is this kind of like battle with a dragon, and then he falls into the volcano, and that's it. In the SNES version of the game, there is kind of a prologue, and you get to see him traverse to future areas, but again, that's all you get to see. So actually getting to see Ortega's journey that we've never gotten to really experience before is fantastic. We knew that there was going to be separate scenarios. We already knew that, but we didn't know what those scenarios are. But now that we know that those scenarios aren't just kind of like throwaway things, they actually enrich the storyline, I think that that is fantastic. So, it says here that Ortega is facing off against a mighty warrior named Samano. How did the two come to meet? I am guessing that this isn't actually Samayo. I hope that that's a weird localization, and maybe this could be Simon. I'm going to try my best not to spoil anything as far as this game, but if you've played this game, you know who Simon is. It could also be somebody from Samano Castle. It could also be someone from the village of Moor. If you know anything about Ortega's backstory, all three of those things could definitely be possibilities. I am personally thinking Simon. It says, in all my years, I've never been pushed quite so hard in a duel. Then he is discussing something in a campfire with his companion. This is not Samano. This is like a little dwarf companion that says, Ortega, I think that helm of yours might have had its time. So a couple things that we do know about Ortega's helmet was that it actually was given to Ortega as a gift by the people of Eliahan before he left, and we also know that he left it in the village of Moor. So this is probably taking place over in Moor Village, which leads me to believe that this again could be Simon. Let's move on. Those ferocious monsters! It says monstrous menaces, the likes of which you've never faced before, stand between the party and their goals at every turn. So there's new super bosses here from Dying Fire. Will not suffer the living here. And then it says, who could the gargoyle be referring to? So here we have a gargoyle, or gargoyle, I suppose. But you know how Dragon Quest likes their puns, so gargoyle. It says, my, it's been some time since one of your kind dared to come here. So this could be the dragon, retconned dragon that we saw in the NES version of the game, could be this gargoyle, the one that dropped Ortega into the volcano. One thing that I do want to point out is each screenshot shows a different party configuration, and this configuration consists of a fighter, looks like a sage, so this is after the class change. If there's a sage right there, it's definitely after the class change that this occurs, and then over here we have the monster master as well. Then it shows some more screenshots. It says, the Dragon Quest III HD2D remake features a world map modeled after our own. We already knew that. Each region boasts its own culture and traditions. You're bound to feel like you've circumvented... Don't you mean circumnavigated? Okay, you've circumvented, sure, the globe, after you've seen all the world has to offer. We'd like to give you a sneak peek of what lies ahead, paying special attention to the stunning HD 2D graphics and extra details that have been added just for this remake. So, this is the town of Portoga, where you go to get your first ship. And it says here, travel slightly south of its shores, and you'll be greeted by a lighthouse where travelers are known to gather and trade tales. There is a lighthouse in the original version of the game there, which pretty much tells you about the Tower of Arp and where to go in order to collect the orbs. Over here is that little tiny promontory off into the water. Over here is where you get that Sword of Illusion right there. And it says over here, with a boat at your command, you can sail the world and procure many exotic cargoes. Just imagine. Yeah, so merchants and everything else in Portugal, essentially, from this game. Then we have Jaipang, which is Japan, a small island nation by many names, the land of the rising sun, the golden country, name a few. It's filled with countless cherry blossom trees and rice paddies. Venture under its mammoth shrine gate, and eventually you'll be greeted by a resplendent manor. But it says here that the area is ruled over by a character named Pimiko, who possesses strange powers. That was earlier localized as Himiko with an H. I don't know why they changed it from Himiko to Pimiko. It's not that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned. There is a much bigger deal right here. Instead of Isis, we have Ibis. Kind of a strange thing to me. It's always been Isis in all the different localizations. That was a goddess, an Egyptian goddess, Osiris's wife. And Ibis is kind of an Egyptian god too. It's a bird, but it represents Thoth, god of the underworld, whereas Isis was more, I don't know, feminine, because it was ruled by the queen and everything. It just kind of made sense. We don't know what the name of the queen is, though, but this is funny. It says, the nation was originally founded by King Pharaoh. Yeah, Pharaoh, as now ruled by a queen famed for her beauty, but looking right here, the queen doesn't have a name. It just says queen. So that's kind of interesting there. We don't know if this is going to be Queen Isis or not, or just Queen. I imagine they may have changed the localization for this because of, the terrorist group ISIS. But, I mean, it's been named this way since the 1980s. Kind of a really strange thing to change as far as I'm concerned. Then over here, it shows some more villages. An elven village. We all know where that is, over by No Annuals. So yeah, it's beautiful. You can really see just how gorgeous it is right there. It shows the boulder pushing puzzle that you need to use in order to get the Vase of Drought. And then finally, it shows this dungeon. It says, this dungeon will make a tightrope walker out of you. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, indeed. To me, that looks like the tower north of the Dharma Shrine, where you get the Book of Satori. It could also be the Tower of Arp, but I think that's the Tower of Dharma. I could look into maps and really figure it out, but I'm almost positive it's the Tower of Dharma. So yeah, we have some new information here. I think the strangest thing to me is the localization of Isis in order over to Ibis. I don't understand that. But again, this is still in development. They always have time to change that. Another strange thing is over here, Simayo, whatever, that was not a name of a character in the original game. There was Simon. So I'm wondering about that as well. But I really am excited to really dive deep into Ortega's adventures and fight these new bosses and everything that are there. This looks to be very, very, very exciting. The definitive way to play this game. My most anticipated game of the year, bar none. And now I want to hear from y'all. What do you think about these changes? What do you think about Ortega's journey, these super bosses, some of the localization changes? Let me know in the comments. And as always, have a good day.